And so after the families left, then the little boys started showing up. Little boys, 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old little boys that were responsible for feeding themselves and their siblings. Little boy's got a 2-year-old sister, and if he doesn't bring something home for her to eat, then she's not gonna eat, right? And in this moment, I'm older than those boys, and I'm looking at that, and that's not my experience at all, so it's shocking. After we gave all of the food away, he told me to take the bag and to follow him, and we walked into the next neighborhood and stopped by a few people's houses and got more food and then did it again and again and again and again. We walked all the way from my New Orleanian. We walked all the way from the 9th ward to the 17th ward. That's pretty much through all of the districts, giving away this food. And when we got home, my body hurt. I was hurt. I was in a lot of pain. Obviously, I'd seen what I'd seen, but physically really not good. And I was upset with him. I asked him why he was doing what he was doing. Like, why are you doing it? Shouldn't the president, you know, I'm a little boy. Shouldn't the president do this, the mayor do it? And I think in that moment it hurt him because he saw that I didn't get the point. And he said 2 things to me. The first thing is that you don't build a tribe. I remember this is a guy that led 4 banners. So you don't build a community, a municipality, city, state, province, country, and nation with hate. That you have to build with a sense of love and welcome, because hate always needs to feed on something. And if it's not feeding on you, just wait. Second thing that he told me was that if you see someone enduring something hard, something difficult, you see someone being berated because they have a different religious belief or they're gay. Now, mind you, in this moment, these weren't conversations that were happening in the 9th Ward of New Orleans, but this is where he was. He said, if you see those things, that came to your spirit's sight for a reason. Obviously, we all know, it seems like mostly adults in here, that you can't do everything in every moment. But we have all had that experience where we knew we could have did something and didn't. And so I think that was what he was speaking to. You know, he said it came to your spirit for a reason. Now, obviously, I'm talking about a chieftain and a tribal leader, but I'm saying that to sort of say something else. We have created a moment in our social, cultural, and political spaces, and we've allowed these arenas to become inundated with people that have highly bigoted views, and that don't mind telling you to your face that you are not valuable, that you are nothing, your neighbor is nothing, and there's nothing you can do about it. I don't know. To me, part of the reason that it hurts so bad is because I know that people can see that this is happening, but what's fighting that, right? And I think about this notion of tribe and the type of tribalism that we have in this country. Tribalism, in my estimation, is part of the reason why we have the guy that we have, yes. Right? Yes. Because people would rather fracture, and you know, I once heard an old woman say, you don't stay with the person that you love the most, you stay with the person that you have the same hates. That was heavy to me. As a little boy, I heard that. I mean, you know, obviously everyone will appraise that in their own time, but it seems to me we've created and cultivated a moment where we fracture into tribe too easily. And we've accepted all of these ideas and notions that have been pushed on you that says that everyone that is different, you're supposed to create a value distinction based on the difference. Like, yeah, we all have eyes, we look around, we see that we are different. That does not mean that one is better than the other. We are just different.
That's right.
It's the value distinction that's dangerous. I say that to say, when I'm looking around and I see what happens, I see a moment where, well, I'm gonna ask you a question. So we live in a country where historically a woman does the same job as a man and she gets paid pennies on the dollar for that. Bullshit. Right? It's bullshit. Have you ever seen a group of dudes talking about it?
Whoa.
So this is just my conjecture. Let's say you meet a girl. She's the most beautiful and formidable and radiant, funny person that you've ever met in your life. When you go to sleep, you think about her. I can see that's your lady, yeah. I'm not mad at that. Love is good. You see that she's all these things. When you go to bed, you think about her. You covet her. You wake up in the morning, you hope that she's going to be safe. You tell yourself that you do everything in your power to protect her and make sure that she's okay. You go down a dark alley, you're all too quick to, I'm super guy, I'll kick his ass. Right? So you have all of these feelings about your wife, all of these things. But in a moment where she's fighting to be able to feed your children the same as you can, we don't show up. Right? And so as a person that's not your lovely wife, how am I to expect you to care about the things that affect me when you won't fight for the things that affect the person you say you love the most in this world?
Wow.
Right? So the idea is we break up, we fracture too easily. Right? So let's say you're Black Lives Matter. Maybe you don't give a shit about what's going on in the gay community. Maybe you're gay. You don't care about what's going on with DACA. Right? If you look at the tenets of all of these cultures that are fighting and jockeying for equality, they're the same. But we won't protect each other because for some reason we've accepted this notion and this idea that those little differences deserve value distinctions based on something someone else told you to believe. And so part of what we're trying to do in this musical environment is to create a space where sonically, if we can marry all of these seemingly disparate cultures of music, then we're trying to make a statement about how we would prefer to see the world, right? And so the last song that you're going to hear, it comes from the most sacred moment in my life. Like I said, my grandfather was a chieftain. My Uncle Donald has been a chief for 30 years. And I was just coordinated as chief last year. My family was and so what you're going to hear comes from what you might call a powwow, but we say gathering of nations, right? What you will hear, the rhythm that you hear is one of the most sacred rhythms of my culture. This is the rhythm that you play for the young braves, the young boys and also little girls when they meet their chieftain for the first time. And they're dressed in this beautiful, elaborate ceremonial regalia that comes from the 17teen. And 17teen is a mixture of all of these West African cultures and Southeast Louisiana native cultures. So really beautiful. If you don't know anything about it, you should check it out. But you're going to hear this rhythm. You're going to hear us attempt to be as open and vulnerable as possible with you in the hope that when you walk out of here that you don't fracture and that you try to stay connected and hand in hand. So, you know, I know we've been joking about jazz wine and all of that shit, but we really hope that when you leave this place, that you weigh the things that we think and that what we're trying to say to you in this moment, and you try and look out for your neighbors in ways that we actually haven't seen ever happen in this country. For some reason, we have this idea here where we constantly reinvest in things that we know are actually really, really terrible things for us. And we label them as great when they're not. And so this generation has a profound opportunity in front of it. You can be the first generation in the history of this place to actually create the space that we talk about wanting for our children. So we hope you guys think about that when you leave it. With all love, thank y'all.
Thank you. Woo!